Paul Rusesabagina, who was my dad, he saved people during the genocide.
I was 1 year old and my sister Anaïs was 2 years old. Both our biological parents were killed because of their ethnicity.
We ended up in a refugee camp, and it was Tatiana and Paul who came looking for us. He saved us. We wanted to be able to save him too.
Terrorist suspect Paul Rusesabagina, known for the movie Hotel Rwanda, was this week formally charged by the Rwandan government for terrorist activities.
Paul Rusesabagina saved 1,200 people in Hotel Rwanda in Kigali during the genocide. Because of that fame, I guess, he was given a public platform, and he used that platform to advocate for democratic change and human rights in Rwanda. This sort of advocacy over time made him a target of the Rwandan government.
The biggest concern that we had for my dad is his health. My dad has heart conditions. Basically, we had a race against time.
I was worried that we would get a call that said that our dad had died. Anaïs and I both stopped our jobs so that we could focus 100% of our time on advocating for his release.
The family reached out to me quite soon after he was arrested because I've been involved representing other Rwandans previously. I remember thinking, that's going to be a really difficult case.
Paul Rusesabagina was charged with terrorism-related offences in a Kigali court on Wednesday at the start of a trial that has drawn international scrutiny.
We were able to sort of watch in real time this unfolding of these proceedings where we could just see that Paul's rights were sort of being systematically violated. We can shout about that as often and as loudly as we want, but we're his lawyers. You know, we're not neutral voices in this. It was about 2 weeks after Paul reappeared, and the Clooney Foundation for Justice issued a press release saying, we have eyes on this. We're going to monitor these trial proceedings. And to have that sort of independent, impartial voice saying everyone should be watching what's happening was just critical for us.
In this case, I was a TrialWatch expert. I was asked by the Clooney Foundation to provide a report on the fairness of the trial of Paul Rusesabagina. The crux of the case was that Paul had criminal connections with a terrorist organization on the ground, and that was never satisfactorily proved.
Urukiko rurebye rero ibikorwa Rusesabagina Paul yakoze agahanishwa igifungo cy'imyaka 25.
The report that was written by TrialWatch had a huge impact, not only on getting other governments to be engaged, because when my sister and I and my mom would sit down in front of any government official that we would be able to get in front of, and we would tell them Dad's trial was unfair, actually I have a report to prove it.
That document for us allowed us to then go to the State Department and say, all right, it's not just us saying it.
Today we're heading to a meeting at the State Department to see the hostage affairs team.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken says he has raised concerns with Rwanda's president over its jailing of Paul Rusesabagina.
I was in DC. I was the person working with the government, having meetings.
We were being given information that would lead us to believe that Paul would be released within a certain and short period.
So when we learned that Dad was going to be freed, I just started crying.
So I don't think any of us quite let ourselves believe it. And it was when I saw him in person.
He walked into the room. Instead of cheering on, we all just like cried. And Dad would tell us, Dad is home. Don't worry, Dad is home. Dad is home.
I was delighted when it was reported that he'd been released after some intervention by the European Union and by the Biden administration, and I learnt that my report had been some influence in their deliberations and their taking up the case.
I think it's not an exaggeration to say that had Paul's trial not been independently monitored, had TrialWatch not stepped up and agreed to do this, he may very well still be in Rwanda.
Without TrialWatch, I don't think I'll be seeing my father today. And I'm telling you that with deep, 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 deep sincerity.